to the Final Four. We join you today from Oxford, Mississippi, the #2 team in the country, the Florida Gators, taking on the Ole Miss Rebels. Look at the standings in the SEC. Florida undefeated, 13-0. The Rebels enter action at 7-6. And we welcome you courtside. Hi, everybody. Ian Eagle along with Doug Gottlieb. Great to be with you. College basketball here on CBS. Florida is poised to become the #1 team in the country. Syracuse losing to Boston College. The door is open. And Billy Donovan, Doug, is doing it with a veteran group.
And they're better together than they are individually. And that's what really makes them special. They have one of everything. Casey Prather, a remarkable athlete who's really improved his ability to score. Scotty Wilbekin, a senior who's now become their starting point guard, not just a defender. And Michael Frazier, who's their knockdown three-point shooter. And oh yeah, Pat Young's still here. Big Patrick Young mans the glass and scores inside. They are a very good, cohesive unit at the offensive end.
A year ago, Ole Miss, big surprise, they won the SEC tournament, went to the NCAA tournament. This year, they're just trying to get themselves into the conversation right now. If it's going to happen, it'll start with Marshall Henderson.
Yeah, and remember, this is the last team to beat Florida in the SEC, was in the SEC championship game, and it was behind this guy, Marshall Henderson, who will drive you crazy at times with his shot selection, but when he gets it going, there may be no better outside scorer, shooter, streaky player than Henderson from the perimeter.
All right, Doug, let's check out our AT&T fast analysis for this one.
Well, what makes Florida special really is their defense. We showed you their offensive numbers, but defensively they hold people to 58 points a game, and they do it collectively, trapping the basketball, using long arms, athletic wingmen. But it's not just the traps, it's the fact that they rotate out and help each other. They can recover so they can speed up a game, slow down a game, and take you out anything you want to do.
It is the 105th all-time meeting between Florida and Ole Miss. The madness is just around the corner. CBS Sports College Basketball coverage is sponsored by Mercedes-Benz. Experience truly great engineering today at your authorized dealer. The Quicksilver Card from Capital One. Earn 1.5% cash back on every purchase. And by Warner Brothers Pictures 300 Rise of an Empire. In theaters March 7th. Back in Mississippi, the longest tenured coach in the SEC, it's Billy Donovan, now in his 18th year with the Florida Gators. Let's check out the starting lineups here between Florida and Ole Miss. Florida, Wilbekin, Frazier, Prather, Yaget, and Young. The Rebels, Summers, Henderson, Perez, Jones, and Colby. Andy Kennedy, 2-7 in his career against Florida. 6 of the 7 seasons he's been the head coach before this one, 20 or more wins. Well, it's Super Social Saturday. It starts today on CBS Sports. Tell us why you love college basketball using the hashtag CBS Super Social during commercial breaks. Doug Gottlieb will be live tweeting to share some of his thoughts. You can tweet Doug at Gottlieb Show. In fact, the best way for me to connect with you during the broadcast is to tweet you, I've decided.
Yeah, I didn't know I was supposed to talk until you tweeted me.
I will tweet you. Your turn to talk.
Okay.
Looking forward to it. Florida and Ole Miss. Ian Eagle, Doug Gottlieb, the rest of our CBS crew. 3 weeks away from Selection Sunday as the ball is knocked out of bounds off the opening tip. Florida enters action at 24-2. A school record 18-game winning streak. Hottest team in the country right now. Obviously, Wichita State, the other, undefeated.
And they just survived Auburn. Remember, when Syracuse lost to Boston College, they nearly lost that home at the Ojo to the Auburn Tigers.
Jones comes up short on the jump shot to start things off for Ole Miss. Wilbekin settle into a half court here with Yaget. Talked about the teamwork, the ball movement. Maybe the best team in the country. Spreading it around, getting everybody involved. On a kick, jumper, Prather, no. Young, so strong on the inside, and clears for Florida.
And Casey Prather, as good as he is, the weakness to his game is jump shooting, and Ole Miss is going to dare him to shoot.
One of the most improved players in the nation, averaging just under 16 points per game. He averaged 6 last year as a junior. This is his game. Off the dribble drive. Shot clock is down to 12. First minute of play here in Oxford. Wilbekin. Shot clock is down to 3. The corner, Prather hits the side of the backboard. So now Jarvis Summers will set up the offense for Ole Miss. Summers coming off a strong performance in that loss to Kentucky. 22 points. 84-70 loss to the Wildcats on Tuesday night. Double team on Summers. Back off now. Perez played well against Kentucky. Came off the bench in that one for 21. Starting here today for Andy Kennedy.
Yeah, they can downshift and use him in a power forward. But he's a stretch 4. Or just a wing that can score.
Perez can't finish in a shot clock violation.
And you got to know. You got to know time and score. You got to be able to look up at that shot clock. But it's interesting what Ole Miss is doing, which is you look at every scan report. How do we beat the Gators? You have to not turn the basketball over. You have to rebound against them. But defensively, there's really only, with their starting lineup, 2 players you have to respect as jump shooters. And they're almost playing like a triangle and 2, just sagging off of Florida's non-shooters.
You get on a kick. Frazier, one of the best shooters in the nation. Shot clock is down to 14. Frazier will feed the post. Young, cross-court feed. Jumper, rims in. It's Frazier. Didn't like the way he shot it yesterday in practice. He showed up at the gym this morning at 7 a.m. to put up 200 jump shots.
And he has made himself into a lights-out shooter at this level.
Henderson, bottom, a 3. Marshall Henderson averaging 37% from three-point territory. And he ties this one up at 3. Into the post. Young flailing on the interior, and it's out of bounds.
Well, this is a mistake made defensively by Florida. You have to, what's called lock and trail, or tailgate, if you will. Get behind Marshall Henderson every time he comes off the screen, because when he catches it, it's going up if he gets any bit of daylight.
Henderson has made a 3 in a school record 60 straight games. Summers off the drive and kick. Perez is open. You get battling on the glass and able to outduel Jones on the inside. Scotty Wilbekin, experienced senior, candidate for SEC Player of the Year. Prather trying to dump it down low. Oh, what a save by Young. Here's Wilbekin off the spin. And a travel.
Ole Miss is switching every screen. And we see Pat Young giving Florida 1 extra possession that ended up in a turnover. That's what has made Pat Young such a valuable player. Has he developed the 15, 18-foot jump shot? No, not really. But he still gives you every ounce of effort in his body.
Dorian Finney-Smith is in. Inside. Colby nearly finished it. And the freshman will go to the free throw line for the Rebels.
And here's what happens. Now all of a sudden you're cheating out on Marshall Henderson, and he slips the ball inside. The problem Mississippi has had is their inability for their big men to finish. Everyone in the league respects Summers and, of course, respects Marshall Henderson's ability to get it going. Dwight Colby has to be a better scorer at the rim.
Colby from the Bahamas. He's raw, willing to mix it up. We've seen that in his play, but developing post moves is going to be that next step for Colby, who knocks down a pair of free throws, a 47% shooter. So Ole Miss takes a 5-3 lead. Florida did not play well in the first half against Auburn. In fact, they trailed by 8 at halftime, their largest halftime deficit of the season. Went on an 11-3 run to end the game to knock out Auburn on Wednesday night.
And a bizarre play where Auburn fouled in a tie game after Auburn missed a free throw.
And there's the jump shot. Young, we don't see it often, but he'll at least keep the defense honest if he can knock down a few like that.
No, if you knock down a few like that, he's going to make a lot of money for a long, long time, but it's not something that he has to go to often.
Summers on a cross. Out of bounds, Perez loses it. And Ole Miss turns it over.
And big Pat Young, known for scoring at the block. When he scores from 15, that's a bonus.
As part of Super Social Saturday, we'll have Twitter chats going on with an alum from each school. Al Horford, Atlanta Hawks big man, 2-time Florida Gator national champion, tweeting in the first half. Johnny Newman, Ole Miss All-American, SEC Player of the Year, 1971, will be tweeting in the second half. Get involved in the conversation by tweeting them your questions with hashtag #AskHorford and hashtag #AskJohnny. What's at stake here, Doug? #1 ranking is up for grabs with Syracuse falling to Boston College.
And the truth is, Ian, only 2 rankings really matter in college basketball, and that's #1. You want to be, everybody wants to be #1 once in their life, especially at the end of the year, but it's cool to say you're #1. And if you're in the top 25, meaning all your highlights are played nationally, I do believe Florida is worthy of it. And we'll get into this discussion on Twitter with CBS Social Saturday. Mouthful. But I'm still lost as to why Wichita State, despite their record, should be a 1 seed. It was even in the conversation. I saw them. I saw their closest game out of conference against St. Louis. Good team, not a top 5 team in the country.
Jump shot, Finney Smith has now missed 22 straight 3-pointers for Florida. He is 0 for 19 this month.
And he is a guy who, on every scouting report, he loves to shot fake. Well, can't make shots. Those shot fakes don't work nearly as well.
Here's Perez, puts it on the deck. Nice feed inside, and Colby gets the deuce.
And the defense for Florida gets overextended because they're so cautious of Marshall Henderson that they're spending a man and a half on him every time down.
Frazier the penetration, and it bounces off of Young. Turnover. Summers pushing the tempo. Henderson travels, tried to put it on the deck, and the 3rd turnover.
See, Marshall Henderson comes off, so that means you have to help, and everybody kind of rotates up. But now all of a sudden, Florida's defense is overextended, and there's nobody at the basket, and it's an easy pick and roll. Casey Prather was in the right position, but the problem is Florida really respects Marshall Henderson's ability to hit shots in a hurry and change how Ole Miss plays.
Devon Walker is in, the sophomore for Florida.
Now, Walker is a shooter.
Step back jumper for Walker. It's a triple.
80% of his shots in SEC play are from 3, which is a higher percentage of his total shots than Marshall Henderson. He wants to shoot behind that line.
Little floater doesn't go for Summers. Working the offensive glass. So Aaron Jones and Colby playing a role on the inside so far for Ole Miss. Prather couldn't finish it. Out of bounds off of Perez.
What Florida has is the ability to bring shooting off the bench. And Walker, who hasn't hit a high percentage at times for Florida, comes in and simply looking to stretch out this defense for Ole Miss, which doesn't respect many of the players for Florida's shooters.
Another corner pop. He drills it. Frazier with that smooth-looking stroke. Michael Frazier, the second, shooting 42% from 3-point range. 11-9 Florida. Sebastian Saiz, freshman from Madrid, Spain, is in for Ole Miss.
Well, how about that for Billy Donovan? I mean, he has a couple of his non-shooters take a couple of shots, so he makes 1 substitution, gets a 3, then runs an underneath out-of-bounds play for Frazier, gets a 3, and it kind of loosens up Ole Miss's defense right away.
Henderson will get a breather. Ladarius White, the junior known as Snoop, checks in, and they turn it over. Frazier to the hoop. Around on the interior, and it goes down for Prather.
And Andy cannot be happy. You know, you bring in Snoop White off the bench, you take him out of the starting lineup, and first thing you do is turn it over. Gators up 4.
For all your college basketball scores and news, download the CBS Sports app. Go to cbssports.com/mobile to get it now. Message and data rates may apply. Pace of this game early, Doug.
Well, I think Ole Miss kind of had it under control until those 2 3-pointers, and then Snoop White came in and turned the ball over against a little half-court pressure.
What are you getting on Twitter?
Well, let's get through the full-court press for Florida. Mickey Ebert, who apparently is the head basketball coach at Bronson High School, said you should watch more Florida games because Casey Prather is a good jump shooter, just not from 3. From 15 feet and in, he's excellent.
Here's Perez, floater, no. Saiz with a follow for Ole Miss. Off the ball fake. Finney Smith on a kick. Wilbekin, a bomb for 3. Scotty Wilbekin shooting it at 39% from three-point territory. Florida is 4 of 6 from long range. They take a 16-11 lead. Perez swings it. Snoop White back out. Perez, 18 to shoot. Pull-up pop. He's fouled. Free throws coming up for the Venezuelan, Anthony Perez.
Now, speaking of Anthony Perez, here's a man on an island. Here's Anthony Perez, and he's in a bad spot. He's got 2 shooters over from Florida, and he can't decide who to guard. If he runs out at Wilbekin, he's going to kick it to Frazier, who's a better shooter in the corner. You got to know who you have when you sub into the game. Are we man? Are we in zone? Are we switching? Are we staying home? You have to process the sky report. Another major mistake from Ole Miss.
Foul called on Frazier. Perez gets the roll on the first attempt. 70% shooter. And some changes now for Billy Donovan's squad. Walker in with Young. 16-12 Gators. Ole Miss, they've dropped 3 in a row losses to Alabama, Georgia, and Kentucky. They've lost 5 of their last 7. They have never beaten a team that's ranked number 2 or number 1 ever in program history.
There's a little 1-3-1. We saw North Carolina go to the 1-3-1 the other night at the Dean Dome. Florida runs some 1-3-1. We showed it to you in the open of the game. And they will go to this defense in a way in which they don't feel like they have to match up with Florida's offense, because Florida's so good at screen. That was over and back.
It is a backcourt violation. Wilbekin crossed the line, and the 3rd turnover for Florida.
Well, rule number 1, don't get yourself backed up against the midcourt line, because that's like another defender. Rule number 2 is you have to have a second guard. And I actually put that one on Michael Frazier. When there's a 1-guard front, when there's 1 guard in the zone, you have to have attack it with 2 guards. Generally, the rule is a guard.
Henderson back in, catch and fire off the rim. Rebounded by Jones on a kick. White elects not to take the jump shot. Instead, it's Jones. Baseline delivery doesn't go. Wilbekin with the board. Get it up the floor in a hurry. Walker to the hoop. Foul is called. Devon Walker will head to the free throw line.
And Ole Miss is getting opportunities because Florida is just, they're running out at Marshall Henderson. So that's allowing them to get second shots. The problem is that Ole Miss, by crashing 3 or 4 guys to the offensive glass, that opens up the back end, and Florida's making them pay.
First foul on Jarvis Summers. A couple of free throws for Walker, Winter Haven, Florida native. Monday on CBS, action adventure from start to finish. Don't miss a new episode of Intelligence Monday at 10, 9 Central, only CBS. 75% shooter. 7'1" wingspan. And Walker can do a number of different things for Billy Donovan. 17-13, Florida in front. Last time Ole Miss lost 4 in a row, January of 2011. Right now, Wilbekin is matched up with Henderson. Summers to the hoop. High floater goes. Jarvis Summers, big jump from his sophomore to junior year in scoring. Ole Miss cuts it to 2. Walker lines it up. Book it, a 3.
Aaron Jones didn't even run out to help. And I understand sometimes when you're in a zone, your slides defensively determine that that's not your man. You got a perimeter shooter that's standing out. You got to go challenge that shot.
Florida up by 5. White makes his move. Hooks a pass inside. Jones knocks it out volleyball style. Contact. It's good. And a foul. No! An offensive foul on Summers. Looked like the official near side was going to let it go. And then the call made going the other way.
And Ole Miss has dared Florida. Florida says we'll take that dare. 3 after 3, and the Gators chomping up 5.
Billy Donovan's team has got it rolling. 18 straight victories. Now planning for success. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
Where I've gotten better is, instead of looking always at the end result of winning, is I've been much more process driven of how does our team get better? How do we go through the process of getting better? How do we help this player grow as a person, as a player?
Behind the scenes, up close and personal. We'll have that for you next week here on CBS. Our own Bill Raftery sat down with Billy Donovan. Those have been terrific. And for a guy like you, a basketball junkie, to get that insight and just to tap in a bit to the philosophies that these guys have to the big programs.
And the part that he pointed out, Brad Stevens, formerly a Butler, now at the Celtics, very process-driven. And by that, it means, look, if you help the player become a better person. Guys come from dysfunctional backgrounds. Sometimes they come from good backgrounds. They're just homesick. Sometimes they came in thinking they would be a one and done or a two and done. If you help develop that person, you're going to get better performance. And they've really done a good job of that at Florida. And so many of these Gators have figured it out and figured out their role. And that's why they've had such outstanding senior years from those 4 senior starters.
Second foul on Summers. So Derek Millinghouse checks in for Ole Miss. Prather, shot clock is down to 7. Inside, you get knocked away. Henderson comes away with it. Florida with a 5-point lead. Henderson, ball was tipped out of bounds, and Ole Miss will retain it.
And Florida is struggling with this defensive setup from Ole Miss. Because I think Marshall Henderson tipped his knee as he went out of bounds. Sure felt like it. They are daring Casey Prather to shoot the ball from 3. They're stacking their defense against it.
Henderson buries the triple. Cuts the Florida lead to 2. Bullet feed inside. Young out of the double. Walker off the rim. Strong rebound. Prather kick out. And a reload here for the Gators. Wilbekin, pretty play. Finney Smith to the rim, denied, but a foul.
A very simple inbounds play to get Marshall Henderson going. He starts in the corner, but watch as he plants, steps, nice little push off, and Reggie Miller style. Catch, fire, splash.
Foul called against Saiz. So free throws here for Dorian Finney-Smith, a 64% shooter at the line. This was a huge issue for Florida through the first part of the season. They've improved at the line over the last 10 games. Well, today is CBS Super Social Saturday, so please follow us at all of our social media accounts. And, of course, you can tweet Doug Gottlieb throughout the game. He'll be tweeting during timeouts and maybe during game action occasionally.
Occasionally when you're talking?
Like right there, you just tweeted that moment.
That moment.
Right there.
Yes.
22-18 Florida. We are just past the halfway point of this opening half in Oxford. Henderson catching fire. Off the rim, rebounded by Young. Gators looking to add to their lead. Wilbekin circles. Florida shooting 50% from the field. Activity on the inside. Saiz matched up with Young. So that's number 2 on the young man from Spain. 6'9", 233 pounds.
Looks dead on like Bruno Mars, doesn't he?
You got him as Bruno Mars.
A little bit.
Is it the hair?
Not dead on. A little bit like Bruno Mars.
It's the hair.
Yeah.
There's Wilbekin. Gets around Henderson. Finds the open man, Young, for the easy bucket.
Bruno Mars about 5'8", so he's slightly bigger than Bruno Mars.
He's got about a foot.
Yes.
And a couple inches on him. 24-18 Florida. Henderson, give it up off the double. Colby is back in. Henderson off the dribble. Oh, it goes, and a foul. Marshall Henderson with a chance at a 4-point play.
Like, this is a perfect example. Marshall Henderson comes off, catches at first, and hits his big man. Then he catches again. Quick little one dribble, and Scotty Wilbekin can't stay with him. If you're Patrick Young, you think, don't foul, don't foul. But all week after you lost to Auburn, you're thinking, this is the guy we got to stop. And sometimes you're almost too exuberant with how you defend.
Florida gave up 10 threes to Auburn on Wednesday night, so that was an area of concern that Billy Donovan worked on with his team. But you're going against the team that shoots the most threes in SEC play. Ole Miss, that's his 3rd three. And Henderson in double figures. He's got 10. The Florida lead is 2.
And if there's one flaw to Florida's defense is their 3-point field goal percentage.
The steal, Henderson for the jam. Marshall Henderson on a rack attack. Wilbekin handles the pressure, and the jumper goes. That delivery from Frazier quiets the crowd for at least a moment. His third three of the day. 27-24, Florida.
You got to know Marshall Henderson's going to try and get one up. You have to get right behind him, trail off of all these screens.
Ole Miss now shooting at 50%. The block shot by Finney Smith out on the perimeter. Henderson couldn't get it off clean. Colby should have intercepted it. The deflection leads to Florida maintaining possession. We come up on 8 minutes to go in this first half. Gators now up to 56% shooting. Prather, aggressive.
And that's part of what makes Casey Prather and this team special is he's not a great jump shooter, but you're going to continue to back off. He's not going to take your dare. Instead, drive it into the gap, use your athleticism, and finish over the top.
Does a little bit of everything, brings that high motor to every game. And it's really clicked in his senior season. Millinghouse gets rid of it. Shot clock's at 15. Henderson off the double. Perez, the drive, heavy traffic, and it's going the other way.
The last team to beat Florida in the SEC was Ole Miss. And this guy, Marshall Henderson, broke out the Gator chomp. Will we see it again today? Stay tuned.
Our game summary, both teams shooting it well. Florida has gotten a lift from its bench. As you know, today is Super Social Saturday on CBS Sports. Show us your team spirit. Post photos to Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook using the hashtag CBS Super Social. Check back in the second half to see if your photo was chosen. Ian Eagle, Doug Gottlieb, Super Social Saturday, and I guess we're doing this all.
Yeah, we're on the same team there. There you go.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's good.
That's gonna be good. Like, I think that could be my holiday card. That was special.
It's really remarkable how Florida. I don't want to let it get lost in the narrative because Ole Miss is playing well. Marshall Henderson's got to go a little bit, but Florida shooting the eyes out of the basketball. And that's going to be a big key for them heading towards the NCAA tournament. More and more teams are going to gap them, which means playing a soft man-to-man or zone them, and they're going to dare guys who percentage-wise aren't great shooters to shoot the basketball. And Billy Donovan has a ton of confidence in his bench to bring in shooters and in the starters to make the right decisions based upon their skill set.
Martavius Newby is in for Ole Miss. Suffered a broken hand in late January. Came back last game in a loss to Kentucky. Bullet feed. You get. There's the ball movement, Doug, that you talked about, and the fact that Florida is so unselfish. 7-0 run now for the Gators to take a 31-24 lead. To the hoop. Left hand, Newby. And here come the Gators the other way. Running the floor. Prather's met there. Bank shot, no. And a foul going the other way.
Well, we all pay attention to the guy rolling in for the bucket, but some of it's the design of the play. As the ball goes up the lane, when we freeze it, see there's shooters on the weak side, and Jones isn't coming over to help. He has to be there a step quicker because this Florida team, when they set ball screens, pick and roll, pick and pop, when they set these ball screens, they're trying to spread you out defensively in an effort to use their big men going towards the basket.
31-24, Florida in front with just under 7 minutes to go in this first half. The hard drive, and it rims out for Summers. Henderson, ball came to the outside. Henderson, the rainbow delivery, and the rebound snatched by Prather. Move it ahead for Frazier. Working out of the corner. Finney Smith finally breaks the streak. It's a three for the sophomore Dorian Finney-Smith.
And the perfect example of the extra pass. Rob Douster, who's a college basketball writer, he said he hates that extra pass term. But this is an extra pass. The idea of an extra pass in basketball is you have a good shot, but you turn it down for a great shot. Frazier's got a good shot. He's a very good shooter. That's a great shot in the corner. Splash. Gators with their 7th three of the first half.
They're lights out right now. 7 of 10 from long range. Young picks up his second foul. On the season, they shoot it at 34%. Henderson walking the tightrope. Guarded closely by Wilbekin. The fend-off gets it back. Henderson an open look. Count it. It's a three. He's got 15 in the first half. Marshall Henderson averages 19.4 per game.
He was 15 of 17 against Kentucky the other day. You had to know that whether you think everybody regresses to the mean or water finds its level, eventually he's going to get it going.
And a carry. Scotty Wilbekin turns it over.
And it's kind of just bad luck as Scotty Wilbekin falls down, and that frees up Marshall Henderson to knock it down.
6 turnovers for each team. 34-27 Florida.
It's funny, Scotty Wilbekin's a very good defender. You know, when he first came to Florida, he was 17 years old. He left high school instead of going to his senior year. He just bought into the idea of being a great defender. But he's a better on-ball defender than guarding a guy who's coming off of all these screens. It's a different type of defense.
Backed up Irvin Walker for 2 years, finally getting his opportunity to be the starter last season in his junior year. Summers yet to get heavily involved here because of the foul trouble. Colby not a threat from out there. Summers is bottom, a 3. Jarvis Summers is shooting it at 46% from three-point territory. Ole Miss chipping away. They're down by 4. 5:18 to go first half. Wednesday on the season premiere of Survivor, Brawn versus Brains versus Beauty. 3 tribes, 1 unforgettable Survivor. Don't miss the season premiere Wednesday at 8, 7 Central, only CBS. Back here, Tad Smith Coliseum.
And the Tad Pad is alive, and it's alive because Jarvis Summers getting into the act, hitting the 3. Marshall Henderson's got 15. Problem is they can't stop Florida. Florida's shooting 70% from three-point range.
Some pressure. Florida handles it. Another jumper. Frazier rimming off the mark. Rebounded. Finney Smith went up high to get it. And a reload here for the Gators. 5 minutes to go first half.
First chance to see the freshman Chris Walker. Of course, only got eligible in SEC play.
Frazier blocked by Jones on the perimeter.
Much better effort from Jones. Remember, he had his hands down last time Frazier hit an open 3?
Henderson. Oh! Heat check! Marshall Henderson is smoking hot. It's a 9-0 run for the Rebels. Kick out for Wilbekin. Back to the iron and rebounded by Walker. McDonald's All-American Chris Walker from Bonifay, Florida. Prather is fouled.
Marshall Henderson, who is absolutely deadly when he gets it going. That's not bad defense. That's just ridiculous shooting. We have not seen the land shark. He hasn't broken out the land shark celebration this year. Has not broken out the Gator chomp since last year's SEC championship game. Really emotional kid, emotional player, and he runs in streaks.
He's brash. He will fire from anywhere, but you can see how the nearly 9,000 people inside this arena can respond to Henderson when he gets it going.
And the difference in Florida and in Kentucky was they couldn't hide him defensively against Kentucky. Whereas against Florida, because Florida has some non-shooters, they can hide him, and he can switch off to players that he can just dare to shoot.
Jones was called for the foul, the 6th team foul. Summers, tough delivery, it almost went down. And he is headed to the free throw line where he shoots it at 78%. Over 1,000 career points now for Jarvis Summers. Facilitator, distributor. First couple of years, he's taken on more of the scoring load here in year 3.
Really improved as he's a scoring point guard. These are 2 big, strong scoring guards going at it.
Out of Jackson, Mississippi. It'll be Devon Walker replacing Michael Frazier. Frazier, his 2nd personal foul, 7th team foul against the Gators.
Bad little sequence for Frazier, who took a 3 where he wasn't open, got his shot blocked, and then he commits his 2nd foul. Probably sits the rest of the half.
35-34, Florida. Wilbekin sets it up.
Look for Chris Walker and an alley-oop. Florida will step in with a drive and try and throw the ball to the rim. The freshman is a freak athletically.
Wilbekin, crossover, off the penetration, hooks it inside. Finney-Smith loses the ball, never hits the rim. Shot clock winding down. Walker's three doesn't go. And rebound knocked up in the air, controlled by DeMarco Cox. Ole Miss with a chance to take the lead. Oh, that's really deep for Henderson. Offensive board. Henderson's got the green light. And it's going the other way. Marshall Henderson keeping Ole Miss in it. They're down by just one first half. Part of the NFL today for the 2014 NFL season, and a former AAU teammate of yours.
Yeah, an Orange County product from Huntington Beach High School. And a lot of people say, Patrick Young, who of course has worked out at times with the football players. Yep. Dad was a football player. He could be a football player. Obviously, he has the size, the athletic build for it. I do think that the one thing that would limit Patrick Young on a football field, he's had some knee issues. And he's really big up top. Most guys had to put on weight to be a football player. I'm not sure that's really the case with Pat Young. I would actually, Casey Prather, I think, would be a freak as a football player. I mean, 6'5", can do anything athletically.
35-34. Missed free throw by Walker. Ole Miss can take the lead. Jones backs it out. Millinghouse in there right now. Henderson gets a touch. Under 3 minutes to go in this first half. Off the double. Jones with 8 to shoot. He gets the bounce. Aaron Jones, the junior, puts the Rebels in front by 1. It is a 12-1 extended run. Prather. Shot clock at 15. Devon Walker. Looking inside.
Walker has to be ready to shoot every time he catches it. He hasn't been ready.
Wilbekin. Long three. Scotty Wilbekin. Bullseye. 38-36. Gators.
And that's what makes Wilbekin special in all SEC point guard, is that he has the willingness to take those shots and the ability to make them.
Henderson off the iron. Rebounded by Newby. So another offensive board. Henderson the spin and a foul called. Henderson going to the free throw line.
Really not a good offensive series from Florida, but Wilbekin, clock running down, just up and make a play. They've had that the past 3 years with Irvin Walker and Kenny Boynton. And people forget that though Florida hasn't been in the Final Four since winning back-to-back championships, they've been to 3 straight Elite Eights. This team may not have the top-end talent. There's probably not a first-round draft pick on the roster, but it may be a better team.
Coming up, AT&T at the half. Greg, Clark, and Seth will get you caught up on the latest action today in college basketball, as well as a preview of quarterfinal action from the WGC Accenture Match Play Championship. All coming up. AT&T at the half. Second foul on Wilbekin. Henderson drops in a pair of free throws. He's got 20 points in the first half. Walker. Jacob Kurtz is in. And Chris Walker gets the roll. Highly skilled big man at 6'10", 220 pounds.
Some of his progress obviously has been hurt by the fact that he wasn't enrolled in school early and then eligible to play until late. But man, does he have some talent.
Henderson, step back. Yes. 22 for Henderson.
Flash 22 with 22 already. Now you got a problem on your hands, Florida. You got a red-hot Marshall Henderson, and you got a crowd that's suddenly alive.
We're tied at 40. The Florida bench has accounted for 14 points. Walker didn't qualify academically for the fall semester. He's just trying to get caught up to speed. Three ball doesn't go. Finney-Smith. There's a 10-second difference. Shot clock to game clock.
Part of the design of what Ole Miss likes to do is they like to hit their big men when the entire defense thinks you're going to Marshall Henderson. Or to go in a little zone here so they don't have to chase Marshall Henderson around.
Timer is down to 10. 20 seconds to play first half. Millinghouse with 6. It'll shake and bake. Millinghouse off the penetration. And the layup for Newby. Ole Miss up by 2. 6 seconds to go, first half. Wilbekin looks at the clock. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Wilbekin, the stutter step. Foul is called out front. Time has not run out. They're going to put time on the clock. Wilbekin was looking for the foul call off the drive.
What a really smart play by Scotty Wilbekin. You know, I think everybody in the gym thinks you're going to come down and take a contested 3, and instead he hesitates at the last moment, and Ole Miss fouls him. It's a good call, and there's time remaining. I'm going to say 2 seconds or so.
And that's what the officials are checking out right now. They want to see how much time they'll put back on the clock.
And the officials' precision timing monitors weren't functioning today. So they may have to go to the table extensively for replays if it's close in the second half. They're obviously going right now.
Scotty Wilbekin, 6 points, 2 of 3 from three-point territory. They'll put 1.9 on the clock.
And think about this. Florida allows 58 points a game. They've given up 42 in the first half. Now, part of it is Marshall Henderson's running a fever. You know, Florida kind of microwaved him. They lost him a couple of times, and he got going. That can happen. But the issue now is now you're overextending your defense to worry about Marshall Henderson, and they're getting dunks and layups and second shot opportunities.
Florida leads the SEC in that category, scoring defense. 57.8 points per game. That's 6th in the country. But Andy Kennedy had some numbers in mind, some measurables, where he has seen his team perform at home, scoring in that 80 to 82 point area, shooting it at 45%, and they're hitting all those marks right now.
Their problem is, can they get a stop? Florida's played well for the most part offensively.
Wilbekin nails a pair. Florida will make a substitution here. Prather is in. Wilbekin will sit with the 2 fouls. 1.9 to work with. Newby to Henderson. 3-quarter court. Over the backboard.
If that one goes, I think you just run out the door and say goodnight.
End of the first half. All tied up, 42-42 as we send it to Greg Gumbel in New York.
Thank you, Ian. Coming up on AT&T at the half, Clark Kellogg and Seth Davis join me to get you caught up on what's going on in college basketball today after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports college basketball coverage is sponsored by AT&T, the official sponsor of the NCAA. AT&T, rethink possible. The all-new 2014 GMC Sierra. Incredible thinking in the form of a truck. And by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We'll pick you up. Getting ready for the start of the second half. Florida and Ole Miss tied at 42. Welcome back to Oxford, everybody. Ian Eagle along with Doug Gottlieb. Super Social Saturday here on CBS. We'll be getting your tweets involved and photos. Halftime, biggest storyline here for you, Doug. Florida, this is a team that's one of the best defensively in the country.
Yeah, they allow 58 points a game, and this is the most points they've allowed in any half this season. And it's because of Marshall Henderson. You know, they microwaved him. You know, they heated him up by losing him a couple times. And once you lose him, Scotty Wilbekin loses him on the pump fake. Now you foul him, you give him an extra bucket, and then this is called a back tap. You go behind Scotty Wilbekin, you pick his pocket, you get a dunk. Now he's energized. Now everything he throws, he thinks is going in. Now you have a problem on your hand. 22 points to match his jersey number. And Florida's played well offensively. They just haven't been able to shut down 22.
Our Buffalo Wild Wings first half stats. Florida, 14 of 27 from the field. They hit on 8 3-pointers in that first half. They turned it over 6 times, but Ole Miss, great answer when they trailed 34-24. They end the half on an 18-8 run to tie this game up. Well, we asked you to post your photos using the hashtag CBS Super Social. And here is one of our favorites so far. How can Henderson be in 2 places at once? Ready to watch at Ole Miss men's basketball play Florida at the Tad Pad. Hashtag CBS Super Social, hashtag Toddy Toddy, hashtag Ole Miss, hashtag Marshall Henderson, hashtag keep the photos coming in the second half. All right, a couple of keys for you now in this second half, both sides of this.
Look, I think if you're Florida, you need to continue attack the gaps in the Ole Miss defense. Ole Miss is daring some of their non-shooters, like Casey Prather. They're daring to take three-point shots. Don't take those dares. Take good shots, get into your offense. But they also have to not overextend themselves. Simply be there and make Marshall Henderson take challenge shots and then rebound the basket. Don't freak out if he hits one, because he's going to miss some. He's not going to hit at this percentage. Water finds its level.
Start of the second half in Oxford, Mississippi. Florida with a chance to take over the #1 ranking in the polls with a victory here.
Prather backs it out. Really impressive from Ole Miss. That is a scouted play that they worked on extensively and walked through it in film this morning, and they snuffed it out.
Davis maybe gets the start in this second half for Ole Miss. Jump shot, short. Leggett. Rebound, Leggett. Kick out. Prather zigzags to the rim, and this is on the reverse lane.
But even for Leggett, that's not your shot. They got fortunate to get a rebound and get a second look. Take your shots. Take good shots. That's what's made Florida so good this season.
Summers missed last year's SEC title game against Florida with a concussion. Ole Miss got the win. Colby missed everything on the interior. Moving up the floor in a hurry. Prather. And a foul call. Stops the clock. 54 seconds in. Looked like that was going to be a play on.
2 missed layups in a row for Casey Prather, who is just a phenomenal athlete. He got hit on the wrist there. That's why he missed that one. That's a missed ball.
He is 2 out of 8 from the field. Newby picks up his first foul.
Prather's athletic enough to go up and throw down.
Wilbekin to the corner. Frazier. Wilbekin to the hoop.
Beautiful.
Off the glass for Scotty Wilbekin, playing very much under control.
2 shot fakes from 2 of Florida's best jump shooters. They had open looks, but they weren't clean looks.
Henderson feeding the post. Colby on a kick. Jump shot. Summers. He cans a triple. Jarvis Summers has 9. Ole Miss in front by 1. Wilbekin. That flips him. But upstairs, you get the catch. Run it downstairs and draws the foul.
And here's how they get a weak side open three-point shot for Ole Miss. Patrick Young comes out and doubles off of this screen. So Leggett rotates. This is good rotation from Florida. Everybody helps one another. Michael Frazier covers down, but there's always a weakness anytime you double team. And that weakness is leaving Jarvis Summers open for 3.
Second foul on Newby. Will Leggett, 64% shooter. Senior from Bordeaux, France. You like that, Bordeaux. You liking this, Bordeaux?
You get their best interior defender. Long.
Plays bigger than he is. He's listed at 6'8". What makes Monday TV's best night of comedy? All new episodes of How I Met Your Mother, 2 Broke Girls, Mike and Molly, and Mom. It all starts Monday at 8, 7 Central, only on CBS. Leggett rims in on the second attempt.
Big fan of Will Leggett going the bronze with the Florida coloring. He wins the shoe game. There's some other Jordans out there today. I think Will Leggett wins the shoe war.
That caught your attention early. We were talking about that early when they took the floor. Summers floater. It goes. Jarvis Summers making it happen. He's got 11.
And he's playing within himself. Marshall Henderson's getting all the attention. Jarvis Summers got an open 3, and he waited till all the attention on that possession shifted the way of Marshall Henderson. Simply took his man one-on-one.
47-46. Ole Miss. Wilbekin. Logan. Shot clock is down to 12. Henderson there defensively. High screen from Young. Finds an opening. Comes up short on Molina.
That's a 3rd drive that Casey Prather has failed to finish. This half alone.
Lob and slap. Upstairs, Summers on a special delivery for Colby. Ole Miss swinging the elbows. Prather. It's Summers there defensively. Ole Miss has its largest lead.
Casey Prather gets double teamed. That should not be an elbowing foul.
That's the first on Prather.
You know, part of it is the way college basketball was taught going back, you know, even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And the rule, the flagrant 1, flagrant 2, the elbowing rule, which has been amended some this year. I think it has good intentions. The intentions are to take away the flagrant lining a guy up and elbowing. But when you play basketball, occasionally you're going to catch an elbow. That's part of basketball, especially when you close in on my airspace. I believe that the offensive player has to have some sort of almost halo around them where they can create some space.
Just explain that it is a player control foul because the contact happened below the shoulder from Prather.
And that call I'm okay with. I frankly think the offensive player instigated by giving you where you have nowhere to go. But James Barker just came over and said, hey, contact below the shoulder, it's just a foul. Now that's Prather's third foul. He's missed 3 drives, and that's now a turnover against him. He has got to get his mind right here on a player control foul, not a flagrant foul, for Florida. Not just win this game, but this is how teams, everybody has tape, everybody watches, recording CBS, when they get back and they prepare for the Gators in the NCAA tournament, they say, how did Ole Miss hang with them? They sagged off him and made him make jump shots.
Florida starts the second half 1 of 5. Ole Miss is +8 in the paint here this afternoon. 18-10. They outscored the Gators. They lead 49-46. Henderson using the high screen. Henderson to the hoop. Off the back of the iron, and Young with a man's rebound.
I was actually thinking the exact same adjective.
Wilbekin swings it. Frazier corner pop. Rebound you get all by himself for the follow.
And that's why you almost need Frazier to shoot those jump shots. Second shot basketball. Gators back within 1.
Back in Mississippi, 49-48, the Rebels leading the Gators. Here's our Super Social Saturday poll of the day. Throughout the game, be sure to vote on the CBS Sports Facebook page or tweet @hoops on CBS using hashtag TopFrosh. The winner of Top Frosh will be revealed in the UNLV at Boise State game, 8 p.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network. Some good choices there. Gordon, Parker, Wiggins, Randall, Embiid, and Ennis. Who are you going with?
I think that Randall is the best freshman. He's had the best freshman season. I think they all have holes in their game. And
are you looking at the negative, Doug?
No. I'm just like, if I picked like Jabari Parker, really struggled defensively against North Carolina. I think he'll play well against Syracuse tonight.
Summers taking it to the hoop. And Jarvis Summers gives Ole Miss a 3-point lead. So Randall is your pick.
Yeah. Dominates the game on the boards. Dominant offensive player.
Henderson the steal. Henderson, the lob upstairs, deflected to the outside, and now Florida coming the other way. In attack mode, Walker loses the ball out of bounds.
Yeah. Just really smart basketball by Andy Kennedy as Summers gets a screen, but because, again, so much attention spent on Marshall Henderson, who's standing out in that corner, stretching out the defense, it's almost like Jarvis Summers is an ancillary guy.
Wilbekin in and out. Young couldn't grab it. And here comes Ole Miss. Summers using the screen set by Saiz. Settle in now. Just over 4 minutes gone by in this second half. Summers has scored 7 since halftime. Henderson, short.
He wasn't really ready. He shot that one because he was kind of open, but wasn't really ready to fire it.
Defense from Henderson on the outside. Young. And a bounce for Frazier. Fans here wanted to travel. Spread the floor with Wilbekin. Ball movement leads to a Frazier 3. Wow. Young throwing his body around. And it's out of bounds. Florida will hold on to it when we come back. 51-48. Both teams getting after it. The number 2 team in the country, Florida, down on the scoreboard. Doug, take us through our AT&T fast analysis.
When you're guarding Marshall Henderson, the rule is you lock and trail. In other words, you need to get behind him, trail him, tailgate him. Don't let him have any airspace. Instead, early in the first half, Casey Prather tries to go over the top of the screen, instead runs into a screen. And once you heat up a guy, once you microwave him, if you will, now all of a sudden, he's seeing a completely different basket. Marshall Henderson was 5 of 14 from 3 against Kentucky. One of the reasons I believe his percentage has been so much better early on this afternoon was because of that first open look.
On the other end, Florida opened the day 7 of 10 from three-point territory. Since that point, 1 of 10.
Regressing back to the mean zone. They have good shooters.
Wilbekin, short.
But they're not a great three-point shooting team.
Rebounded by Walker. A reset here for Florida, trailing by 3. Walker's jumper popped up in the air. Young got his hands on it, and it's tracked down by Frazier. Long possession here for the Gators.
And this was a problem for Ole Miss the other night against Kentucky. Second shot, now you got to play defense again.
Frazier, count it, a 3.
Each one of their perimeter players got a chance to line up and take a good open 3. And that is death defensively if you're Ole Miss.
12 points now for Michael Frazier II. We're tied at 51. Summers directing traffic. 13 points for him on 5 of 7 shooting. Henderson lets it fly. Rebounded by Young. Florida with a chance to regain the lead. Wilbekin through traffic. Drive and kick. Wilbekin lines it up. Count it. Scotty Wilbekin from long range. 54-51 Florida.
But they've done a much better job of limiting Ole Miss to just one shot and then getting easy shots for themselves. Gators back in front.
Tuesday on CBS, they use surveillance to save lives. Are their methods based on truth or fiction? Don't miss a new episode of Person of Interest. That's Tuesday at 10, 9 Central, only CBS. Well, here in Oxford, Mississippi, Florida has jumped back in front, 54-51.
Rebel Black Bear enjoying the game so far. I would have liked them to go with Admiral Akbar when they changed
really?
when they changed game day mascots.
I don't know if that would have fit in with Club Red.
This game's a trap.
On the kick. That's solid. That was very good. Here's Perez out on the perimeter. Off the timeout. Summers to the hoop. Jarvis Summers. He's got that attack mentality, and it's working.
And they're going at Pat Young, who isn't moving terribly nimbly laterally.
Dealing with knee tendonitis, almost did not play against Auburn the other night. Pump fake, Finney Smith sprawled out, and a foul is called.
Here's what I mean. Patrick Young is a phenomenal looking athlete. Vertically, he's really athletic, but they just drive right at him, go around him, and get an easy lane to the basket. He has got to give himself a little bit more space, get a little bit lower. But I think those knees are bothering him when you watch him run up and down the court. Wide open 3.
Young is part of a senior class that has won 108 games. And there's the long arm of the law, Aaron Jones.
Florida has gone, this is their best shooting lineup. Okay? And as Jones gets his shot blocked, that's where you obviously need to pump fake. At least for those 2 possessions, they had shooters straight across the floor. Now you put Prather in.
Florida uses a timeout, couldn't get it in cleanly. They'll step aside with 13:09 to play, second half. Makes the best and brightest stars in coaching. Northwestern Mutual presents NCAA Men of March. Billy Donovan. After the timeout, get it inside. Young backing in, using the glass. Patrick Young. 56-53 Gators.
He doesn't just play bully ball. He doesn't just debo you and try and shove you around. He does have some very good agility and loves that hook over his left shoulder.
Wilbekin working over the screen. Summers gets the step. Ball movement leads to a Perez jumper. Too strong. Saiz inside. Can't finish it. Knocked out of bounds off of Florida.
And just a simple play out of a timeout for Florida. And he gets it low enough to where he can go to work. There's a very good hook shot over his left shoulder.
Doug, Florida, 42 field goal attempts. 25 have been three-point attempts. Saiz comes up short.
But a lot of that has been defense determined. Ole Miss has dared Florida, and Florida also has downshifted their lineup some. But sitting in a zone or playing a sagging man-to-man, and Florida has picked its spots and gotten some open looks.
Dwight Colby in, and Sebastian Saiz, 6'9", 6'11" with the hair. Sits.
Flat preference.
Oh, yeah. Jumper for Frazier doesn't go. And it's rebounded by Ladarius White. Summers all bunched up on the outside.
I believe Fletch could play for the Lakers today. That's about what they're throwing out there.
Right. Look at Fletch. Down by 3. Too high. And over the head of Perez. Turnover, Rebels.
Kind of an interesting alignment for Florida against the Ole Miss 1-3-1. And traditionally, you split the man at the top. So Wilbekin would be on one side, and you put Frazier on the other. They are really trying to attack the backside of that zone. Now you have the classic two-man front.
Florida will retain it with 28 to shoot. Up by 3 on the road in Oxford. CBS Sports college basketball coverage is sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. UPS. Let UPS put the power of logistics to work for you. And by Bud Light. It's the sure sign of a good time. Here we go. 56-53 Florida leading Ole Miss here in the second half. Don't forget, coming up, the action moves to the golf club at Dove Mountain. Big time play continues at the WGC Accenture Match Play Championship. And this is where we stand in the quarterfinals. Jason Day 1 up, Ricky Fowler 3 up, and a lot more action still to come here on CBS.
I was impressed by you rocking the Ricky Fowler solid one-color outfit when we went to dinner last night.
Yeah, I like to do that during my downtime.
Yes.
And Ricky Fowler, I think, is rocking the facial hair these days as well.
So is Rick Pitino. It's the other game on CBS, which is, I'm not sure. Actually, I know how I feel about that, but
You'll keep it to yourself. Yeah. 3-point lead for Florida here. They've cleaned up second chance points. Prather on a kick. Finney Smith clears for Wilbekin. 10 to shoot.
Eddie Jones not going for the most known pump fake in America.
Step back, Wilbekin, no. Rebounded by Perez. He went up high to get it. And a turnover. Summers.
You play perfect defense. You don't go for Finney Smith's pump fake. You make Wilbekin take a shot with the shot clock about to expire. You get the rebound, and then you turn it over on the outlet pass.
Florida up by 3. We come up on 11 minutes to play in this second half. Last season, Florida was 0-6 in games decided by single digits. Tie up, and possession arrow goes to Ole Miss. This year, they're 11-2 in games decided by 9 points or less.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And last year, I mean, Kenny Boynton's a good free throw shooter. Eric Murphy's a good free throw shooter. You'd think it wasn't free throws. I think the problem last year was all of their best players in the last couple years have been jump shooters. They tried to post up Eric Murphy, even the SEC championship game. If he could get a foul, but they just didn't have anybody who could turn the corner, get to the rim, and make a play.
Henderson has yet to score in the second half. Just 3 shots attempted. Working around the perimeter. Perez, the drive. Perez hangs and hits. 1-point lead for Florida. Frazier puts it on the floor. Deflected. Henderson goes to the corner to get it. Whips it ahead for Perez. Turns the corner to the hoop. Perez! It rims in! Anthony Perez. Back-to-back athletic plays going to the rack. Ole Miss in front by 1. Prather into traffic. Wilbekin lets it fly. It's a three. Going the other way. Foul called against Florida.
The carryover from the midweek loss to Kentucky was that Perez can really play. Anthony Perez got the start today. Hasn't really given them much, but you get him going to the basket, and now all of a sudden, Ole Miss has some pitch in their giddy-up.
Second foul on Prather. And Perez gives them another offensive option. They rely so much on the combination of Henderson and Summers to put points on the board.
Wow, is that really good defense from Finney Smith.
We are past the halfway point, second half. Ole Miss shooting it at 50% in the second half. Florida, 28%. Perez against Prather. Jones, 9 to shoot. Summers gives it up. Henderson. Two-man game with Summers. Hop step. Shot clock violation. Didn't get it off in time. Colby underneath.
And the old-fashioned shut off your water. And what I think makes Florida capable, despite everybody has a flaw in college basketball, despite some of their flaws at the offensive end, capable of winning the entire thing, getting back to Dallas where they lost last year, is they can press you, they can 1-3-1 you, and if they want to, just play man-to-man and shut off your water so you can't score.
Young turns, loses the ball. Turnover, Florida. Summers stripped.
Great hands.
Gets it ahead for Wilbekin. And now they slow it down. No field goals over the last 4 minutes and change for Florida. Ian Eagle, Doug Gottlieb, the rest of our CBS crew here in Oxford, Mississippi. The #2 team in the country, Florida, with a chance to move to #1, trailing by 1 to Ole Miss. Ole Miss looking for a resume-building victory for the NCAA tournament. Wilbekin short on the jump shot. Rebound. Henderson goes down to get it, and it's out of bounds.
Florida really doesn't have much of an offense here. One of those almost too much effort going after the ball. One guy would have said, I got it, flipped it to the other.
Ole Miss up by 1.
Frazier has been open in the weak side corner several times.
Get it in before you get. Saiz has checked back in. Along with Millinghouse for the Rebels. Wilbekin to 3. Bottom. Scotty Wilbekin straight away. 59-57 Florida. He's got 14 points and 5 assists.
And you think of the guys he's learned from the Irvin Walkers, from the Kenny Boytons. Those guys were willing to take and make those shots.
Push shot. It goes for Anthony Perez. His offense has come alive in this second half. He's got 8. We're tied at 59. Wilbekin runs into a brick wall. Saiz. Turnover. Perez just passed it to the cameraman. Out of bounds.
One of the ugliest pairs of possessions you'll see in college basketball, where Scotty Wilbekin just runs into Saiz, and then Perez, who had scored 3 buckets in a row, tries to get the assist on CBS Social Saturday.
Could have been for the mascot, too.
Yes, could have been.
Game summary with Ole Miss and Florida tied at 59. Rebels shooting it at 50% from the field. Look at the 3-point attempts for Florida, 30 of them. And Marshall Henderson for the Rebels, 22 points, but he has yet to score in this second half. Points of the paint belong to Ole Miss.
I mean, that's really what I think would be surprising to somebody who's watching. You think Marshall Henderson comes down and just jacking up shots, which he does, but they play offense.
Yeah.
Kind of all, when he's making shots, it kind of all works together, because it spreads you out, and now it creates lanes to get extra shots.
Super Social Saturday here on CBS. Al Horford, 2-time NCAA champion with Florida, tweeting throughout the game. This team has similarities to my championship teams. The best thing about them is they play as a team.
Well, I would agree with that. You know, the one thing, when you had Joakim Noah and Al Horford, you had 2 big guys who could score and could also defend multiple positions. That was a tremendous team.
Near turnover for the Gators. Young able to get rid of it. They tried the repost. Henderson into the bench area, and it's out of bounds.
Henderson just a little extra effort and throws it off Pat Young, who tries to get out of the way, can't in time.
So Ole Miss takes over with 7:25 to play in this second half. Florida has turned it over 7 times since halftime. Henderson working the baseline, now a kick. Millinghouse lines it up, off the mark. Rebound, Perez went between his legs to grab it off of Saiz. Henderson, long one, off. Rebounded by Prather, and a foul.
It feels like Florida has withstood the run of Marshall Henderson. Well, you got Millinghouse, who has really struggled with his jump shot this year. Hasn't really hit a jumper in a month. Taking threes. The crowd's gotten out of it a little bit. Now you have to get good offensive possessions, as Ole Miss seems to have frustrated Casey Prather.
Henderson is 0 of 4 from the field in the second half. We're under 7 minutes to go now. A win here for Florida. They'll have the #1 ranking. Wilbekin matched up with Summers. You get on a kick. Shot clock is down to 13. Anticipation and a steal. Summers stripped away. Wilbekin gets it back, lobs it ahead. Young! That's a man's jam. Ooh. And Young hurt himself at the end of the play.
I think he got hit in the face, or may have hit his face in the rim. You can't tell if Perez clipped him or if the rim clipped him.
Patrick Young.
He's built like a superhero. I couldn't see anything hit him in the face. It's his,
oh, from behind. I think might have gotten poked in the eye. Yep, Saiz. Young stays in there. Florida up by 2. We come up on 6 minutes to play. Second half in Oxford. Summers using the screen from Saiz. Perez doesn't take the 3. Off the dribble drive. Saiz. Ripped away from Perez, and a steal. Prather on a bounce for Wilbekin. And now he'll back it out.
That's two straight steals by the backcourt for Florida. Wilbekin with a great strip of Summers to possession before, and Prather with that one.
There's Prather on the offensive end. Game trends, 9 ties, 14 lead changes. Henderson goes down hard, and the jumper goes for Prather, and Henderson having a tough time getting up.
Well, Dorian Finney-Smith has an incredible shot pick. You're not shooting a high percentage, but people go for it. Marshall Henderson, the latest victim. And frankly, that was a foul on Marshall Henderson. But that's where Prather is deadly. When he takes those shots inside 15 feet. And he's only 3 of 10. Struggled with turnovers, and Ole Miss has scouted him really, really well. And that's how Florida can be special.
Big first half for Henderson. Quiet in the second half. Only those 4 field goal attempts. And Florida now up by 4. Summers the drive. Teardrop. Follow. Doesn't go. Jones. They wanted that to be a goaltend. And so did Andy Kennedy.
I don't think it was a goaltend. I'd have to see it on replay. It was so quick.
Finney-Smith. Cross-court feed. Wilbekin. Plenty of time on the shot clock. And a kick ball. You get was trying to get it to the baseline, and Finney-Smith.
Dorian Finney-Smith comes in. I don't think, you know who used to block shots like that? Andrew DeClerc played at Florida when they went to the Final Four to meet Hook. He had a couple of blocks where he came from behind guys and flipped the ball upwards. I don't think that was he tried to dunk it and he blocked the dunk. I think that was the play on.
Shot clock at 13. Wilbekin takes a peek at it. Donovan calls out a play. Florida up by 4. 5 to shoot. Outside, Finney-Smith, too strong. You get couldn't grab it. Finney-Smith the save. Foul called. And again, Florida producing an opportunity based on offensive rebounds and hustle.
Those long rebounds and caroms. But Florida, as you pointed out, Bird, just the extra effort. And going and getting an easy bucket or getting a foul.
And it sends you to the free throw line where he shoots it at 64%. Martavius Newby with a foul.
It's hard enough to box out of a zone, let alone against an offensive rebound team like Florida.
That's the 4th on Newby. Short air ball. Tomorrow on The Amazing Race, your favorite teams are back to compete in an all-star competition. The Amazing Race All-Stars premieres tomorrow, 8 o'clock, 7 Central, only CBS. One out of 2 for Yaget.
As a guy who's thrown up a couple air balls in college basketball at the free throw line, that second one's where you find out if he's mentally whipped. That's actually a huge make for Will Yaget as the Gators up 5. It's very reasonable to consider Michigan State still in play for a 1 seed, considering the schedule they have in front of them and that they're still not healthy. When healthy, I think they're one of the elite teams in the country.
Henderson off balance. 3 ball doesn't go. Florida building on its lead, up by 5. Largest lead for either team in the second half. Wilbekin watched by Summers. Henderson goes for the steal. Here's Yaget. They play off him. Shovels it. Young. Tough angle. Slammed down on the follow by Finney-Smith. But a foul was called prior. Jones picks it up.
It may be something hard to pick up at home, but in person, despite Florida's moments of ineptitude on offense, the changing of lineups by Billy Donovan, going with Dorian Finney-Smith at times, going with the perimeter-oriented lineup at times, it's really hard to match up with them. And you got Yaget and Young who have bought into, I'm not going to take jump shots. I'm going to try and get shots around the basket. And then they're going to throw it up and try and go get it. Florida's a team you have to pay attention to from the moment they cross half court until the moment you secure the ball.
And if this team is going to do damage come March, free throw shooting is going to play a role. They have improved 70% over their last 10 games, 75% over their last 5. Off the hands of Jones, and he's in the right spot to deflect it home.
Jones was open because they overhelped on Marshall Henderson. Pass was a bit too hard, but somehow went in.
That ends a 7-0 run, 66-61 Florida. Frazier, extra feed, Young blows the layup, but he is going to the free throw line. 2 free throws coming up for Patrick Young, the senior. The Gators up by 5 on the Rebels. Right now, a look at the Capital One Cup impact performance. Scotty Wilbekin of the Gators.
It's got to be Scotty Wilbekin. Yes, Marshall Henderson scored more points. Wilbekin does have 5 turnovers, but he's gotten a couple of huge steals. 2 huge steals, 6 assists, and he stepped up and made big shots and big plays when the Gators were in dire need of some offense.
Problem now for Ole Miss, 17 fouls, just 2 for Florida. Our game reset. Each team has 2 timeouts remaining. Possession arrow belongs to Florida. Free throws right now for Patrick Young with his team up by 5.
And remember, we talked about the fact that Florida gave up their most points they had given in any half. At halftime, they had 42, right? You look at Ole Miss now, it's 61. And their average, they only give up 58 a game, so it's obviously going to be above their average. But considering we were on pace for 84, they have really locked it down defensively.
Young in particular is starting to improve the free throw shooting. Now it's 60% on the season.
Like an action figure. He's the after photo to anybody who ever started lifting weights.
It's true. He is 4 of 4 from the line. Florida now up by 7. Thanks to a 9-2 run. Summers. And it bounces home for Jarvis Summers. 68-63. Summers 17 points for Ole Miss.
Summers just attacking that zone. Really simple. Just screening the zone, and he's just going to work as they put Marshall Henderson on the opposite side.
Finney-Smith. You get it outside. Frazier lines it up. Boom. Buries a 3. Michael Frazier the second. Fifth three for him, 12 three-pointers for Florida. That's a season high. They've got a 71-63 advantage. Summers, same play to the hoop, and he delivers again.
They've been able to stay out of foul trouble and kind of slow Ole Miss down and really find Marshall Henderson easier in the zone. But Jarvis Summers keeps getting loose. I think they're going to go back man-to-man.
19 now for Summers, 13 in the second half. Florida's lead is 6. We're down to 2.5 to play. Wilbekin with 10 to shoot. The stop and go. Wilbekin.
What a shot.
Using the window, Scotty Wilbekin. And he's been the difference maker. 18 for Wilbekin, 73-65. Summers draws the foul. Veteran play by Jarvis Summers.
Well, Scotty Wilbekin wants to get back to his strong right hand. So he doesn't have anything. Now watch, kind of hesitates, little crossover, jumps, explodes. Only 20 years old as a senior. Started college at 17.
Gainesville native, attended the Rock, graduated a year early.
Well, that would be quite a career if you go Final Four, Elite Eight, Elite Eight, Elite Eight, Final Four.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned that this senior class is in a position to potentially become the top senior class in terms of wins.
Winning, sir.
Walter Hodge, 117 wins. And a win here would give them 109 for their career. Off the rim, WGC Accenture Match Play quarterfinals coming up here on CBS. We'll send you directly to that coverage when we're done with college hoops. Under 2 minutes to play. Frazier to the hoop. Contact. Ball bounces to the baseline, and Henderson's got it. With his team down by 7. Henderson shifting gears, forced to give it up. Jones backs it out, looking for Henderson. Two-man game. Jones lines it up. Grazes the rim. Rebounded by Perez. We're down to 1:27 to play. Summers, reach-in foul. Against Yaget. 1:23 left on the clock. Updated quarterfinals in the WGC Accenture Match Play. Jason Day one up. Ricky Fowler one up. Ernie Els still to come. Henderson a 3. Just can't buy one.
That was a good look. That was probably the best look he's had in the second half.
Layup for Anthony Perez. 10 points for Perez. 73-68. Wilbekin will bring it across.
Now you got to foul Will Yaget. You got to get the ball out of Wilbekin's hands and make Will Yaget come get the basketball, or simply bump him off the ball if he ever leaves and comes to the ball screen.
Yeah, Florida is just milking clock here. We're down to 48 seconds to play. Shot clock is down to 12. They've got a 5-point lead in possession. Wilbekin against Summers. Wilbekin makes his move. Shot clock winding down. Kick out. Finney-Smith, side of the rim. Ole Miss still alive. 33 seconds left.
Obviously, look for Marshall Henderson at this point. They've been hitting their big men more often.
Perez, the jumper. Doesn't go. Rebound knocked to the outside. Summers, an open look. Short. Perez, offensive board. That won't go. There's a lid on that rim for Ole Miss. Down to 10 seconds left. And now they're forced to foul with 10 seconds to play. Ole Miss had chances to make this one interesting, but they come up empty.
And Florida's going to be the #1 team in the country after essentially surviving Auburn at home and surviving Ole Miss here today.
It would be the first time since February of 2007, and you know what happened back then. Billy Donovan had this program going.
Man, back-to-back national championships. But it's not like they've been dormant. They've had really good teams. Lost the likes of Brad Beal to the draft and others early. This is a senior-laden club. Very good defensively. And they've been able to show here that they can knock down some three-point shots. Obviously, Scotty Wilbekin's solid with the basketball late. They're going to have to become more efficient offensively, like they were against Kentucky when they scored on every possession the last 11 minutes of the game.
Up next for Florida, they will be at Vanderbilt on Tuesday, and it looks like they'll be 25-2. Golf is on deck here on CBS WGC Accenture Match Play quarterfinals. Final 10 seconds here in Oxford. Florida 75, Ole Miss 68.
Ole Miss had opportunities, but I would have fouled early in that previous possession with 50 seconds to go, lengthen the game. But I mean, think about it. Marshall Henderson 22 in the first half.
A donut in the second.
A donut in the second half.
0 of 6 from the field. Final seconds here. Newby's jumper is good. A 3 with 2.5. They get it in. The Florida Gators have won 19 in a row. They are poised to be the #1 team in the country. Final score 75-71 Gators for Doug Gottlieb. I'm Ian Eagle. Let's send it to Greg Gumbel in New York.
All right, Ian, thank